artists, welcome to your Pusheen Unicorn painting class. In front of you, you should have your canvas. You should have a cup of water to clean your brushes with, a paper towel, a large brush, a smaller brush. Also, you need yellow, black, pink, white, dark blue, light blue, purple, and gold. Also, be sure to grab a plate as well. If you do not have all these items, you're welcome to pause the video and come back to it whenever you do. All right, let's get started. My name is Miss M, and the first thing we're gonna do today is we're gonna wash and dry both of our brushes by just kind of twirling them around in your cup of water and then gently wiping them off on your paper plate. We are going to use our big brush first and our light blue paint and all the stuff behind our Pusheen cat. So all that background is going to be light blue. So big brush, light blue. I'm actually going to start by going underneath the belly and around the feet. I'm going to outline all the space around my Pusheen cat with my light blue so I know exactly where to stop. So I'm taking my big brush and my light blue. I'm going around all of the sections of my Pusheen Unicorn cat. It just makes it easier. I don't lose my place. Once I'm done outlining, I know exactly where to paint that blue, light blue background. To the left side of the body. It's okay if you go over your pencil line a little bit. We will be going over it with gray a little bit later, so if you get some on the pencil line, not a problem. Pretty much making a bubble around my Pusheen, and be sure not to go inside of any of those areas. All right, and take your time, but once you're done with your outline, you do want to go in there and paint in a nice up and down formation with your light blue and your big brush still. Cover up all that background space. So again, I'm kind of going all around my Pusheen Unicorn. I'm even going over my outline that I made, so I just kind of break it up. You don't see it as well. And I do recommend 2 coats of this light blue, which means you paint it all once, give it a couple minutes to dry, and then go back to it and give it another coat so it just looks a little bit more solid. You don't see as much of the white streaks. I'm also going to paint the 4 sides. So painting your 4 sides, giving your light blue 2 coats. It's a good way to start. Make sure all that paint is nice and smooth. You do not want to have any big bumps. It'll take forever to dry. You want to have nice, long lines. So again, I would definitely go back and give this a second coat so it's a little bit cleaner the second time around. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to paint my 4 sides. So before you do your second coat, if you want to kind of work on the 4 sides, you can. The bottom part too. The right side. And then the very top, you're also going to want to paint this light blue. So again, I would recommend 2 coats. So once you're done, I would definitely go back after the top part is dry a little bit, and go back and give it another coat in the background and 4 sides so it's a little bit more clean. Once you are done with your light blue, go ahead and wash and dry your big brush. So we're going to stick with our big brush for the next step. And we are going to make a gray to paint the body. The gray is kind of going to be close to like a pencil lead gray, so a nice medium gray. So go ahead and grab your plate and your big brush. You're going to take about 2 big scoops of white. So 1 big scoop, 2 big scoops, and then just a dot of black. I'm just going to dip my brush and then bring it a little bit more forward so you can see it. Just a dot of black, just a little bit of black on my big brush. And I get a nice medium gray. I've used this medium gray several times in my classes, so be sure you have a nice medium gray. And then be sure to also like wipe off the sides of your big brush so you don't have big chunks of your mix. So gray paint. Once I was done mixing my gray paint, I'm going to put my big brush aside. I'm going to use my gray paint to outline my cat, my Pusheen Unicorn, excuse me. So be sure the light blue is nice and dry. I'm just going to go around the tail. Be sure everything is nice and outlined. Do not, do your best to not touch any blue paint that's still wet. So again, you might want to give it a couple minutes, but I'm using my small brush and that green, the gray paint that I just mixed. I'm just making a nice outline so everything's going to be nice and neat. Just a moment. Underneath the horn. And once I'm done with this outline, I can go back to my big brush and paint all that space inside my Pusheen cat a nice medium gray. So small brush, you don't even have to wash it. Put it to the side. I'm gonna go back to that, I'm gonna go back to that gray mix that I made. And I'm gonna paint this whole section, kind of again moving in that up and down formation. If you're still outlining, you can pause the video. And again, I would recommend 2 coats of this gray, so maybe painting it twice. Giving it some time to dry between each coat. Usually takes about a couple minutes. But if you're happy with it the first time around, it's absolutely fine. Kind of painting in that same up and down motion. If you need to use your smaller brush to get into those smaller areas, you can, or just be extra careful. And again, I'll probably do 2 coats, but that is up to you, the artist. Be sure everything looks nice and smooth, nice long lines, kind of working in that up and down motion. Perfect. Once you are done, then you can go ahead and wash and dry both brushes. And we'll let this dry before we put any colors close to it. Wash and dry both my brushes. the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to work on the mane and the tail area. Again, be sure your gray is not too wet, because if the two wet paints touch each other, they're going to mix. So maybe give it a couple minutes before you start this step. But my first color for my mane is this yellow. It's going to be down here and a little bit underneath here. I'm going to start off with my small brush and my yellow paint. I'm just going to kind of go over these outlines. And be very careful. If your gray is still wet, give it a couple minutes. Use my small brush. And if you want, you can do 2 coats of yellow too, so you can kind of cover up that pencil line a little bit more, and you can always drag any smear too, just side to side, 2 coats, giving it some time to dry between each coat. Maybe a little bit up here as well. Perfect. Once I'm done, I am going to mix myself a pink. So I'm going to wash and dry my small brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of this dark pink, find a nice clean area on my plate, a little bit of white, mix it to make a nice kind of lighter pink. If you want it to be darker, add more pink. If you want it to be lighter, add more white. I'm going to add a little bit more white to my mix. So small brush, pink, yes, that pink color that we have, and you're going to add white to it to make it lighter. And be sure you've given some time for that yellow to dry. Be sure to wipe off the sides too of your small brush. So I'm going to go on this top line. The pink is going to be this middle little strip right here. Back to more pink. I'm going to outline and fill in, so I keep those lines nice and clean. Again, be very aware of your wet yellow paint, because if they touch, they're going to start kind of mixing and blending. And I would definitely do 2 coats of this pink too. Paint it once, let it dry, and then go back for another coat. Perfect. All right, so go ahead and wash and dry your small brush. For the next step, I'm gonna mix my pink and my purple, no white. So I'm gonna use my small brush that I've just washed and dried, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of pink, so a scoop of pink, and a scoop of purple, and make kind of this really pretty pink purple mix. So a scoop of pink, scoop of purple, mixing with my small brush. And this top layer of the mane is going to be this pretty color. This will do the same thing as I did before. So I use my original pink and just the purple, a scoop of each. Again, 2 coats of this is really going to cover it much better. Make sure it looks nice and smooth. And then also this shape right here, this backward C, is going to be that same pink and purple mix we just used for the top one. So I am going to make this C shape, make the smaller C shape, and I'll go in there and paint them. And again, do 2 coats just so it looks a little bit cleaner. Be sure all those bumps are gone by just going over it and softening it, like so. And wash and dry your brush. And maybe giving it a minute or so to dry, but you do want to find a nice clean area of purple. My small brush. And the center one right here is going to be your purple. It's going to be purple. Make sure I don't have too much purple in there. I'm going to come on the outside of this area and just add a purple line. Come on there. I can start filling in all that space. Again, look how thin that purple is. Definitely go in there and do 2, maybe even 3 coats of purple to make it look a little bit cleaner. If you need to pause the tape, Excuse me, pause the video to keep working on the purple and pinks. You can. Perfect. All right, and last but not least, I'm gonna wash and dry my small brush, and I'm gonna use my darker blue that I haven't used yet for that last area of the tail. So I'm gonna use my small brush, outline on the outside. With that darker blue in my small brush, I can kind of work my way in a little bit more with my darker blue. Again, as you can see, it's pretty thin, so do 2, maybe 3 coats of this darker blue that we have. Looks so cute. I'm gonna wash and dry my small brush. The last thing that we're gonna kind of do with these super colorful colors is we are gonna dig into our gold. So with your small brush and your gold paint, you are gonna outline and fill in the horn. So I'm gonna outline that cone shape. Go over your pencil lines and be very careful if your paints for your mane are still wet. Be sure not to get any on your paintbrush. But there you go. Awesome. There is a dark gray outline around our pusheen and some kind of small curvy lines on the back and close to the horn. I'm going to show you how to make those. So I'm still going to use my small brush, and I'm going to make a gray that's darker than the gray on the body. So again, find a nice clean area on your plate. I'm going to take 1 scoop of white with my small brush and then a dot of black. Make a nice dark gray. You can put it next to the gray that you already have. Make sure it's nice and dark. Maybe 1 more bit of black. Definitely want to make sure it stands out. There you go. I think that's a little bit better. So small brush, a nice dark gray. You can kind of compare it to the gray that you have. Make sure it's darker. Be sure after you're done stirring, just kind of wipe off the sides. I am going to outline around my Pusheen cat with this gray mix that I just made. So I'll just start over here, and I'm barely going to push on my brush. So keep my dark gray going. Then I'll go around the feet. Always go back and get some more, but be sure you don't have too much on there. If you want, you can always add a little bit of water, tap it on your paper towel like 5 or 6 times. That water will help move that gray a little bit. Just be sure you do not have too much water on your brush. Nice long lines. I'll leave the the tail alone, and I'll kind of continue it up here. Be careful if you see any wet paints. You don't want to touch them with your gray. This line right here. I'm going to go around the ears. Like so. With the dark gray, this part's kind of tricky, so if you want to watch it first and then do it, that would be kind of a best bet. There's 3 kind of curvy lines on the Pusheen Unicorn's back. So there's going to be one right here. See, it kind of has a U shape. One a little bit further out. Another U shape. And they're pretty small. They don't go too far past this yellow point. And then I can go in there and paint them in. So 3 U shapes. Paint them in. Like so. There's also another one, and this is with the dark gray that I just used for the outline. There's also this area just to the right of the horn, between the ear and kind of the horn area. There is a little bit of kind of like a J shape. Go in there and add some gray to it as well, like so. Perfect. So a gray outline around the pusheen, dark gray outline around the pusheen, and then those areas where it's the U shape. And then this little shape right here with the dark gray. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to use our black paint with our small brush. So if you're still working on the dark gray, you're welcome to pause the video. Actually, can I clean this up? All right. We're going to put some eyes, a mouth, and some whiskers. So small brush. I always like to bring my small brush, to a point. So I kind of twist it, bring it to a point, because I know I'm going to do some smaller areas at this point. I'm going to take my small brush and my black paint, a little bit down and over from my horn, so down and over to the left, make a small circle. I can always get bigger, and I do want to. I'm going to make a little bit of a bigger circle around it. I don't want to go too big too fast. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of space kind of over here and to the right of the stripe. Make a dot. Get a little bit of a bigger circle. Try to match the two in size, but not too big. Like so. My brush is kind of done for. Sorry for the scratchy ends. There you go. I'm going to kind of bring it to a point again. All right. More black paint. Maybe tap some off so there's not too much on there. And I'm going to make a J shape and kind of like an L shape for the nose mouth area. I'm going to come between the two and a little bit lower down. Barely pushing on my brush. There's the J. I'm going to scoop up and you'll see kind of the L shape, but I just kind of made that same little shoop. Last but not least, we are going to give our Pusheen Unicorn some whiskers. So over to the right and up, I'm going to make this little curve like so. And then underneath it, come down, make a little curve like so. And then to the left, be sure your gray line is nice and dry. Curve like so. And curve down here like so. Just on the tippy toes. You do not want to push too hard at all. But there you are, your super cute Pusheen Unicorn cat painting. Remember, if I were you, I would definitely go back and give these a second or even third coat so they're more solid. And if you wanted to go back and touch up the background, just be very aware of wet paints and how if they touch each other, they will start blending or mixing with each other. Otherwise, your painting is all set. Thank you so much, artists. I hope you had a blast, and hopefully we'll see you soon.